Hello, folks. This is George again, back at the porch for another conversation. Uh, Beautiful day today. It's going to get warm, and I hope that my little bird. I have some house finches that are actually nesting right in that bush, and of course, if I'm here, they're not there. So hopefully, that's not going to matter a lot. So today, I just want to talk about something that occurred to me the other day. Oh, here come some butterflies. That is important for us seniors on GLP-1s. And as you can see, I have my trustworthy, very high tech exhibits, if you will. My wife thinks that I am reverting to my childhood, that I have this apparently fetish with crayons. And I can neither confirm nor deny that allegation. But today I want to talk about satiety. Satiety, as it says here, is slow. And here's the thing: fullness is delayed biology. You know, we have a pretty much coordinated process, biological process in our body. Think about it this way: we have things that happen in our stomach, we have things that happen in our intestines, we have hormones that are activated, and we have something called the vagus nerve, which I'll talk about later. And signals, as we start eating, are not instantaneous. There's sort of a biological lag, if you will, between eating, so between our mouth and our brain, and actually fullness. And you can eat a lot, unfortunately, before your system, your biological system starts to engage. And unfortunately, what we have all discovered is that moderate eating has completely outrun our biology. We're adapted for slower eating. That's how we're made. That's our biology. We're adapted for not being inundated with less, the processed food, the ultra processed food. And we're adapted to put a little more effort into our eating than basically stuffing our mouths. You know, our stomach is not an instant message system. All right. Here's another thing. What does it say here? Reward arrives first. Gosh, do we all know that? So what happens is you have something called the dopamine system, and that activates very, very quickly. And that's our reward system. And it's there for a purpose. Unfortunately, what happens is, because of our society and the fact that we have a lot of engineered foods, that the food industry knows very, very well how to manufacture and to trick us into dopamine response, because we like the crunch, we like the salt, we like the sugar, we like the texture. And if we start eating that way, basically we have a problem. So satiety arrives later. So we start eating, but our satiety does not activate immediately. And unfortunately, ultra processed foods that we all are familiar with amplifies that. Oh, here comes my hummingbird. Is it going to eat, or am I distracting it? It's trying. There it goes. Thank you. So here's the thing: pleasure arrives quickly. Satiety, not so much. So, you know, the cookies, and I have some in my pantry that I've been looking at and eyeballing. I'm not going to go there. What you hear in the background, by the way, is a red-shouldered hawk. I think I've talked about that. I have a nest out there, and there's a mom and dad and now a fledgling. And fledgling is not very happy because, at any rate, the parents are banding in it, trying to force it to start looking for its own food. But as I said, the cookies have already have a committee meeting before your satiety hormones even start engaging. So that's a problem. All right, so now we have the GLP-1 connection. And here's the GLP-1 connection. You probably all know that we have a GLP-1 that's natural that rises during meals. Oh, come on, guy. Okay, there he goes. And this isn't GLP-1. It's not just a medication. It's a natural hormone that we have and exists within our natural physiology. And slower eating gives hormones time to activate, and including GLP-1, including something called PYY and CKK. And GLP-1s help, natural ones, and of course the ones that we're used to, help us to feel caught up. So that's our experience. That's normal fullness. And so we need to kind of remember that and try to work with our biology instead of constantly trying to outrun it with our food consumption, whether you're on a GLP-1 or not. So therefore, if we do that, your biology has the chance to kind of catch up and, file the paperwork before your dessert shows up. So then we have something called the vagus, tomato, vagus nerve, right? And what is the vagus nerve? Well, here's the thing. In our stomach, we have these stretch receptors, believe it or not. So when you eat food, what happens is your stomach starts stretching, right? And it starts sending signals to the brain. And so you have this brain and gut communication highway, if you will. It's like a cable that touches all our organs, especially our digestive system, and talks to the brain. And unfortunately, this stretch signaling takes time. You kind of figure it. It's a physical thing. So the more your stomach gets extended, the more that happens. And this mechanical fullness signaling is progressive. It's not instantaneous. So what happens is fast eating can bypass this mechanism and bypass your satiety, your early signals of satiety. Your brain is receiving a message, but it's a little too late because, well, the food has arrived too quickly. All right. And I love this one. You like the red? Moderate eating speed. And that's a problem. Eating has become another task for us. We want to kind of get it out of the way. I get it. Been there, done that. And this is part of our efficiency culture. And this, especially in the United States and some of the more westernized, if you will, societies. And it's associated, that's nothing bad with that, it's associated with productivity and with discipline, I guess we think about it that way, and with our work schedules. And, I was talking to my wife earlier, and she says, and kids, yeah, and kids. Got 3 kids running around, and you got to eat quickly, and that's the speed we're talking about. But so meals become really, really compressed and very narrow window. And I put this one together because it kind of tells you what's going on. Here's the modern eating time. That little thing there, little frowny face. Yep. But the biological eating time is a lot different, and it's a lot larger, as you can see. So here's an example for me. As you know, I grew up in Greece, and so I have a little bit more of experience of a little different eating pattern. And in the traditional, not what's necessarily happening there now, but in the traditional Mediterranean diet, we treat meals, or we have treated meals, as more of a social experience, a social event. There's conversation, there's laughter, there's bantering going on, and we have smaller courses, not one huge meal, and we kind of try to wolf it down. So conversation naturally slows down eating, right? Your caloric intake is slowed down, so it allows for the satiety signals to start activating and progress. And so that's important. Now, Mediterranean diet does not explain everything because there's a lot of things that are working out there, but the communal eating apparently makes sense. And unfortunately, we have turned eating into another task that we need to complete. And that's part of our problem. Oh, sorry, Birdie. He tried. Or she tried, actually. I don't know who's on the nest. So here's in the US, think about it this way. In the US, eating is like a NASCAR pit stop. Boom, let's get refueled. But in the Mediterranean, the traditional Mediterranean culture, eating is like a 3-act production, theater production. Quite different. All right. Then we have the cephalic phase. What the heck is that? Well, kephali in Greek means head. So now you get it. It has to do with the brain. Because actually digestion starts upstairs, not downstairs. And actually, funny thing about this, digestion, oh, we got a viceroy on the flowers. Anyhow, I get distracted by butterflies. Yeah. So digestion starts even before swallowing. There's a digestion preparation that goes on. You have some salivation that goes on. You have your digestive enzymes start to work out. Your stomach acid gets ready, starts to pour out. All things start ramping up. And that's what happens with traditional meals. You know, you have small and traditional Mediterranean meals that I was used to. You have small little appetizers, you have some olives, you have a little feta cheese, maybe some tzatziki sauce if you want to know what that is. I can give you a recipe someday. And all this makes physiological sense. It's something here that I thought about yesterday as I was preparing my salad. And you know, you've seen my salads before. It's just a collage of all kinds of good stuff. And I was preparing it. And it takes time to prepare because I got to get all the ingredients together. And I just thought to myself, well, here's what's happening when I'm preparing a meal. I'm smelling, I'm sensing, I'm looking, I'm anticipating. What does that do? It has prepped my system to getting ready. So I'm in a transition already to getting ready to eat. And so what I discovered yesterday when I put the salad together, and it was the usual amount that I put, I couldn't eat the whole thing. Why? Because I was thinking about what was happening to my digestive system. I got full because I had this lag time transitioning before I even put one piece of food into my mouth until my satiety had gone into overdrive already. So, and chewing matters. You know, part of the speed is chew, 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 swallow, swallow, swallow. If you're deliberate about chewing slowly, and I have to remind myself that often, it slows down your pacing of your meal, which then synchronizes with your actual biological system and the signaling that happens. All right. So, folks, slowing down is no magic, right? It's not mystical. It's not, some guru thing, some Zen thing. No, just simple slowing down. It's physiology. So, slow eating gives your regulatory system time to participate more fully as we're made to be. And the body can start anticipating what's going on. And you get past this fullness because, you start getting more aware of what actually is going on. So slowing down simply gives our biology time to speak to our brain. So here's some practical takeaways. Simple stuff. Put down the fork. For crying out loud, put down the fork. Do it intentionally, right? And then pause midway through the meal. And I'm trying to think of that I need to do that too, because again, I'm preconditioned in this culture to just speed up and get done, go to the next thing. No, take your time. Pause midway through a meal. And then the other thing, well, that's important. We, my wife and I were talking. Says, how many times do we stop eating and we watch our favorite show on TV? Distraction, screen distraction. So we need to reduce our screen distraction because that makes us speed things up or just not be really engaged and aware of what we're actually doing. And sit while you're eating. You know, many times I remember when I was in a hurry, I stand at the kitchen counter and wolf down the food. Nope. And then again, chew more thoroughly. And here's the other trick. Prioritize your protein, eating your protein first, because that activates things a little quicker. And then your fats, and then your veggies. So try to do that. That's a good one too. All right. And here's some senior specific angle. You know, seniors, we have this thing, clean your plate generation, we can call it. You know, you got to remember those kids in Africa. You got to clean everything in your plate. No, the kids in Africa are not benefiting from you not, you know, eating and polishing your plate and then licking it, for crying out loud. So, you know, efficiency has become a habit, so we need to work against that. And then the other thing that happens is this interception changes with aging. So our perception of our internal physiological processes and signals become blunted as we age. So making pacing now even more important than before. My hummingbird is trying to figure out if I'm going to finish up or not. So these tiny changes that we're talking about, these practical tips, can create a new experience with eating where you can actually appreciate eating and realize what your body is doing for you. It's doing you a favor, but you need to slow down. All right. So in closing, deflection. Yeah, I was going to put a proposing deflection and talk about my grandkids, but I guess I'm going to have a closing reflection in case. So think about it, that this is about less force and more biology. It's not about discipline only, and obviously there has to be some discipline only. But to realize that biology plays a very, very important role. And slowing down will reduce this overshoot that we have before your body can actually engage and do its job. So this allows satiety to activate. And the body can self-regulate, but we need to give it a chance, especially when we're on GLP-1s, because you have this amazing tool that actually allows us to do that and to get out of this routine and this thing that we have of, you know, get it out of the way, complete this thing. And this tool can assist us and give us enough time to do what's right. So this is not about forcing, but reducing the speed and being mindful of our biology. So, folks, that's all I have to say for tonight, or today. Actually, it's daytime. And there goes my neighbor with his doggy. Hopefully, he won't come running up to me. And I hope this was good for you, and it gives you a couple of food for thought, no pun intended, I guess. So, this is George with GLP-1s for Seniors. And God willing, I will see you next time. Okay, now I'm going to let my bird go back to its nest.